What would happen if you combined two digital cameras with large sensors into one enormous sensor camera? Well, I'm glad you asked because we're about to find out. This is something that I've wondered for a while because film cameras have essentially done this for decades now. For example, the standard exposure size for 35mm film is 24 by 36 millimeters. But by using a lens with a larger imaging circle and building a different camera body, you can expose as much length of that film as you want. And that's where cameras like this, the famous Hasselblad X-Pan, come from. It uses 35mm film, but instead of exposing the normal 24 by 36 millimeter frame, it almost doubles the width to 24 by 65 millimeters for an extra large panoramic shot. Now, a digital sensor of that size and ratio doesn't exist, so that's what I'm going to attempt to build today. Here are two identical cameras, both Sony A7 IIs. I chose the Sony A7 II for this experiment because it was full frame, meaning the digital sensor is that 24 by 36 millimeter, 35mm standard. Two of these sensors combined side by side should give us a massive 24 by 72mm frame, even wider than the Hasselblad X-Pan. Now, it would be ideal if we could get full frame sensors by themselves that I could control programmatically with my Raspberry Pi or something and hack together my own camera. But these are absurdly expensive. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars to get scientific full-frame sensors. So hacking together two consumer cameras is what we're left with. And while these aren't the cheapest full-frame cameras you can buy, they are one of the cheapest full-frame mirrorless cameras you can buy, and that's critical for adapting lenses, which is going to be essential for this project. Now, the ideal and easy solution would be to take the cameras apart and put the two sensors literally side by side with as minimum gap as possible. But there are some problems with that. Many modern cameras have sensor stabilization, which introduces a lot of hardware around the sensor. And even without stabilization, the sensors are embedded onto circuit boards, which stick out quite a ways, and even a single millimeter is enough to throw off getting a nice seamless photo. Then you throw in mechanical shutters, and it gets tricky, if not impossible, to do this without really wrecking these cameras. So I'm going to throw that idea out for now. But after thinking about this for a while, I came up with a surprisingly simple solution that I think is going to work. So here's an online light simulator tool. And if I have a single light source coming from this direction, we'll call that light coming through the lens. I can take two mirrors facing opposite directions at 45-degree angles and send the light two different directions, essentially splitting the image circle from a lens and send it to two separate cameras. So in order for this to work, I need to design a lens adapter that on the front end allows some sort of large or medium format lens with a large enough image circle to cover both the sensors and a long enough flange distance to account for the distance between the lens and sensors. And then in the middle, two mirrors at that 45-degree angle to send the light opposite directions. And then on both sides have a mount for my Sony A7 II bodies. Now, to pick the lens, there's actually quite a lot of good affordable options to choose from. I ended up landing on this Pentax 6x7 lens. It's affordable, it has great reviews for image clarity, it can cover the width of two sensors combined, and also has this nice bright f2.8 aperture. And I'm really interested to see how this experiment affects depth of field later. The best thing to do with any big project like this is to build some sort of minimum prototype just to see if your idea will even work. Okay, so this is the idea. This is my first usable prototype that I've made. Semi-usable, as you'll see in a second. The general idea is all here. We got two mounts on the sides for two cameras, and then one mount in the middle for a large Pentax 6x7 lens. And then in the middle here, we just have a little separator support beam, and then I've kind of carefully measured down this little recess down here, you can't really see it, to fit a 50 by 50 millimeter mirror at a 45-degree angle. And you can see that mirror working over there like that. So what I need to do to see if I should go any further, I need to see if when I attach the camera and the lens, if I am getting a usable image, like I can focus. Trying to get the flange distance correct between here, coming down, and then going here to the camera body was a little tricky. So we need to make sure that part works. So the camera is going to fit on like so. Then the lens goes on top. I haven't cleared all the junk out yet. I got too excited. There, that's a light I have above me on the ceiling, and we're going to try to focus on it. Okay, so I had to test that off camera to have a little bit more room, but good news, there is a problem, but it's a good problem. So the problem is actually that I have a negative flange distance. I have more room to work with than I thought. And if I pick up the lens a little bit, I'm able to You can't really see it very well on the screen, but I'm able to get something in focus by moving at the minimum focusing distance by moving the lens a little bit further away. So I'm just like a millimeter or two off from that minimum focusing distance. That's good news. I thought I was going to run out of room the other way. The other good thing that this confirms, in case it's not obvious, is that this is working. I have the mirror reflecting the light over here to the sensor, and we're getting full coverage over here. So because this lens has such a massive amount of coverage in it, it's able to cover 2 full frame sensors as I calculated. I just wasn't sure about how that would work when I didn't let the light travel its full path all the way. I experimented with a few more designs, and I'll be honest, guys, my 3D modeling skills are still pretty weak. I'm really trying to get better here. I could probably make this setup look better and not like a PVC T-fitting, but I'm not there yet. I did also add a spot at the top to screw in a cold shoe. I bought this from Small Rig. I decided to use a real metal cold shoe for the extra strength because we're going to need a big monitor up here. And it was also a good excuse to try out this new tool I got for setting brass inserts for screws. And it worked like a charm. Down at the bottom of this camera adapter body thing, I added a tripod thread. And for this, I used a standard 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch adapter and threaded that into the plastic. And I'm hoping that'll be sturdy enough. Because this setup, it will definitely be a tripod only kind of camera if that isn't already obvious. Thankfully, I have this great new tripod to use from Ulanzi, the sponsor of this video, who supported this crazy project. And if you give me a tripod, I'm gonna have to put it through the Hasselblad test. How well does the tripod work with my largest and heaviest camera? This is the new Ulanzi Glide Go travel tripod. Travel because it's very compact, and glide, I guess, because just watch how many directions it can move. Despite being a compact travel tripod, it can extend up to 6 feet tall with 2 telescoping sections and the best responsive clips I've ever used. And with that, it does still support up to 11 pounds or 5 kilograms of camera weight. For quick camera adjustments, the tripod uses a built-in ball head and a simple quick release clip-in plate. There's also 360-degree panoramic adjustment for precise panning. And if you want to shoot top-down shots, the tripod can also do that. There's a limited time $30 discount, so check out the link in my description. And thanks again to Ulanzi for sponsoring this video. This is the weirdest thing I've ever made. But it's pretty cool. Doesn't it look cool? Let's go take it out and take some photos with it. But first, something I didn't talk about yet. Because these are still 2 separate cameras, I need to control them separately. The easiest low-tech solution I could come up with were these cheap remote shutter releases. So rather than having to take the shot on 2 cameras and try to just time it right, or take them at different times and risk mess up with the wind or something blowing or a subject moving, I figured out that I think this is the thing I have to test to make sure it works. These are triggers designed to fire off the camera, through a remote trigger. That's pretty common. What I think is that this very simple 2.5 millimeter splitter will actually work to trigger 2 cameras at the same time. This will plug in here. We got 1 remote going to 2 separate Sony cameras with this little Sony connection. 1 to this side. Okay, very unofficial setup on my floor because I can't tilt it because the adapter is not done yet, but I just want to see if this works. So we do have 2 images coming through of my light fixture above, and they are both slightly different images, which is what I'd expect, a left and a right, and then reverse because they're mirrors. Now we're going to try to take a picture together. Okay, that's awesome. That worked. You can see my camera is getting in the frame, covering it up. Let's try that again without it. It's gonna be hard to... Okay. I was doing something wrong this whole time and I just completely spaced me when I was doing my prototypes. I've been having the cameras face, was that perpendicular to the lens direction, the way the lens is pointing. But actually, because I want to combine the 2 sensors side by side this way, not this way, which is what I was doing, I want a panoramic, super wide image, because that's even more unique. It's not just like a medium format square kind of image, but it's actually an extra long one. I have to flip the cameras like this and then put the lens on like this. Now, if I did my measurements correctly, I think this isn't going to work because the lens is going to bump this grip on this side on this camera. The grip's back over here. This is over here. So that's the solution I came up with. If you can see that. One of the cameras is upside down, the other is right side up, so that we get the same orientation that I want, that we're splitting the image, and we're going to get, basically this is where the mirrors are. We're going to get two long images side by side, and it just means that from the one camera we're going to have to flip every image in post-processing, which is a little annoying that there's even more that'll have to go into that. But it was a simple enough solution for an otherwise annoying problem with these camera grips. That, I don't know if you can even see that. That's a defect. Somehow I made that mounting plate, not the plate itself, but the part I 3D modeled, it's not level. It's like the easiest thing, but I just didn't. Anyway, that's why my monitor's a little. So people that are good at rigging stuff up could probably come up with a better way to do this. A nice, neat way. I need some zip ties or something. And here's the final setup in all of its glory. Tell me, you can be honest, do you think it's beautiful or ugly? All it needs now is a name. Let me know what your suggestions are. We're getting an image, trying to get a feel for the focal length. I forgot to charge the battery for the monitor, so that's a no-go. This one's out of focus. There's got to be a slight alignment issue on the mirrors because one of them is more in focus than the other. I think I said this before, but this is without a doubt the worst thing I've ever made. Take a picture. The depth of field is crazy. Even at f8, it's really cool. I promise I'm not trying to be super cinematic. It's just so humid out here that I can't get any of my lenses or filters to stop fogging up. Even though we've been out here now for 15 minutes, they just fog right back up. I'm like dripping sweat just standing here. Crazy, super humid. Just pretend it's on purpose. Look at that guy in focus. And then that's blown to oblivion. Huh, interesting. All right, let's see what else we can get. Turn the camera over here. I mean, I don't know if we're at the weight limit, but we got to be close. This is a heavy setup. I mean, the single shots, I know that's not what we came for, but just out of one camera, getting it in focus, it's compelling. It looks really good. There doesn't seem to be that much vignetting. We'll see when we get back to the computer how it looks, but yeah, kind of impressive. Okay, so what did we learn? Well, I think there's potential to this idea, although it does not currently work in its current state. I think just the mirrors are slightly off just by a millimeter or two or something, so that I can't possibly, like both of them can't be in focus at the same time. And I've got to figure out that issue. There's a couple other minor ones, but I think that's the main one from getting us a full image that we can then actually use and put together. But I'll put on the screen what I could come up with. Let me know if you found this interesting. I think it's kind of cool and interesting, albeit completely pointless. I'll see you in the next one, and until next time, as always, happy snapping.